Yes, Eric. Okay, so I had a video for you on perfect competition, and hopefully you watched it. In perfect competition, well, what do we have? We have many, 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 many firms. They all produce exactly the same product. In other words, people cannot tell their products apart. And obviously, since the products cannot be told apart, basically from firm A to firm B to firm C to firm D to however many there are, they all produce identical products. We're going to have only one price. And in perfect competition, the price is determined in the industry. It is determined by the forces of supply and demand. So not one firm nor one consumer can determine what the price should be. That's going to be determined by the industry, by supply and demand. And then the firm is going to be a price taker. Again, I'm talking about perfect competition. I'm not talking about monopoly. In perfect competition, if each firm is a price taker, whatever the price is determined in the industry, that's going to be the price that each and every firm will take. And they will sell all the units that they would like to sell at that particular price. So all the firms will have just one price. And at that price, they can sell as many or as few units that they want. However, they will not sell just any number of units. They will sell the number of units that maximizes their profits. And for that, we found that maximizing for the firm to maximize their profits, they will sell the number of units, the Q star, the so-called Q star, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. In other words, the contribution of the last unit to the revenue is the same as the contribution to the cost. So in the beginning, as they were producing more and more units, each unit was contributing more to the revenue and to the cost. So it made sense to produce a unit that will put, let's say, $12 in your pocket, but will take only $10 out of your pocket. So it makes sense to produce a unit that contributes more to the revenue than it contributes to the cost. Now, as marginal revenue was going down and I'm sorry, marginal revenue stays the same, but marginal cost was going up. Now there's a point where marginal cost starts getting bigger than marginal revenue. In other words, an additional unit contributes more to the cost than it contributes to the revenue. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense to produce a unit that contributes $15 to the cost and only $10 to the revenue. So the point where the firm will maximize their profit is they will produce up to the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And we had the situation like this. This is in perfect competition. Here is marginal revenue curve. This is the price. This price is the same as marginal revenue. And then marginal cost curve looks like this. So as long as marginal cost, each unit contributes more to the revenue than to the cost, it makes sense to produce it. So it makes sense to produce units up to here. Then you stop at Q star, because once you go past Q star, let's say Q star is 100 units. If you go to 101st unit, then the 101st unit is going to contribute more to the cost than to the revenue. So therefore, it's going to take away from your profits. So you're going to maximize profits here at Q star. But again, we don't know whether they are making profits or they are losing money. If the average total cost curve is here, well, that means that they are losing money, because total revenue for the firm, total revenue is going to be here, price times quantity. So it's this rectangle here, and total cost represents this rectangle here. From Q star, we go all the way to the ATC. and that's the average cost of a unit. You see that the average cost of a unit is higher than the price of a unit. So when you produce Q star here, you have the average cost of a unit, let's say $12, but the price that you're selling each unit for, it's $10. So that means that you're actually losing $2 per unit. And then you multiply $2 per unit, how much you're losing per unit, times Q star, which is the number of units, and you can find out what is the total loss. So in that case, we're going to have a perfectly competitive firm that is taking a loss. Obviously, you can have a situation like this, where average total cost looks this way. Well, if this is the case, then we have that the firm will produce at Q star, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but the average cost of a unit, it's here. So the average cost of a unit is less than the price of a unit. So now the average cost of a unit is, let's say, $8, but I'm selling each unit for $10. So that means that I'm making $2 per unit. Times the number of units, I'm going to get the total profit. Okay. Then, so a perfectly competitive firm can make positive economic profits, zero economic profits, or negative economic profits in the short run. Anything is possible. However, in the long run, a perfectly competitive firm can only make zero economic profits. And the reason is because in perfect competition, it's easy to get in, it's easy to get out. So there are no barriers to entry. So if there are positive economic profits, remember, positive economic profits is you're making way too much money. It's abnormal profits. If you're making positive economic profits, what's going to happen? Others will enter this industry and they will chip away at those profits. So in the long run, if they're making, in the short run, if they're making positive economic profits, in the long run, as others will come into the industry, they will chip away the profits and they will make only zero economic profits. Remember, zero economic profits is not a bad thing. You are making what you should be making. You are making a normal rate of return. Normal rate of return means zero economic profits. Now, if there are negative economic profits in the short run, okay, so they're losing money. Well, then what's going to happen? Firms will get out of that industry, and that will leave more profits for the rest of them that are still left over. So in the long run, what's going to happen, as long as there are negative economic profits, firm will exit the industry. And as they exit the industry, the profits for the remaining firms will go up until there will be just zero economic profits. And at that point, there is no reason to further exit the industry. So if there are positive economic profits, other firms from other industries will come in and they will chip away the profits. If there are negative economic profits, the firms will get out and profits will increase until they are zero. And when there are zero economic profits, you are making what you should be making. So you are making a normal rate of return. Remember that zero economic profits is not bad. You are making what you should be making. Okay. Let's start. Let's start with monopoly. Monopoly is a single seller. And with monopoly, the monopolist, unlike the perfectly competitive firm, where there are many sellers, here we have a single seller. So the monopolist faces the whole industry demand curve. And the industry demand curve is a normal downward sloping demand curve. So the demand curve faced by a monopolist is a downward sloping demand curve. It's going to look like this. Okay. But here's the deal. If a monopolist, what this means is that a monopolist, if they want to sell more units, if they want to increase the number of units that they're selling, they're going to have to lower the price. So if you want to sell additional units from, let's say, Q1 to Q2, what they're going to have to do is lower the price. What the monopolist cannot do is they cannot lower the price on only the additional unit. They have to lower the price on all the units. So let's say that a monopolist sells 100 units at $10, but they want to sell not 100, but 101. Well, if they want to sell 101, they're going to have to lower the price from, let's say, $10 to $9.99. What the monopolist cannot do is sell just one additional unit at $9.99 and all the previous units at $10. No, if the monopolist wants to sell 101 units, then the monopolist will have to charge for all 101 units $9.99. So the monopolist cannot price discriminate, sell to one person at one price and another person at another price, depending on their willingness to pay for a product. Now, let's take a look at what that means for us. Let's suppose that a monopolist sells a unit at $10 one unit. And then they decide, well, we want to sell 2 units. Well, if they want to sell 2 units, they're going to have to lower the price. And they lower the price to $9. Okay, well, at $9, they're able to sell 2 units. Well, let's take a look at what is the contribution of the first unit to the revenue. What is the contribution of the second unit to the revenue? That's marginal revenue. Okay. How much each unit contributes to the revenue. Well, obviously, the first unit contributes $10. Okay, you sold it for $10, you're going to get $10. Okay, so the first unit contributes $10. So marginal revenue of the first unit is here. But what is the marginal revenue of the second unit? Well, let's think about it. I'm selling the second unit for $9. But when I produce 1 unit, total revenue equals $10. When I produce 2 units, total revenue is no longer going to be $10, but I'm selling 2 units at $9 each. So that means that it's $18. That means that the contribution to the revenue of the second unit is $8. But how can it be $8 when I sold it for $9? And the reason is because the monopolist, if in order to sell 2 units versus 1, they had to lower the price, but not on just the additional unit, but on all the units. So on both units, they had to lower the price $1. So when they lowered the price from the first unit from $10 to $9, they lost $1. So the contribution of the second unit is $9, the price that they got for that second unit, but they also lost $1 when they had to lower the price on the previous unit by $1 from 10 to 9. So that's why we will say that the contribution of the second unit to the revenue is not $9, which is the price, but $8 because you had to lower the price on all the previous units. Okay, so you see here now, marginal revenue of the first unit is here, But marginal revenue of the second unit is not $9, but it's $8. So marginal revenue, it's here. Let's take the third unit. In order for a monopolist to sell 3 units, now they're going to have to lower the price. So they were selling 2 units at $9 each. Now let's say they have to lower the price to $8 in order to be able to sell 3 units. The third unit certainly sold for $8. So you would say, well, it contributed $8 to the revenue. But what did I have to do? I had to lower the price on the previous 2 units, which were selling at $9 to $8. So I lost $2 from the previous 2 units. So the contribution to the revenue of the third unit is not $8, but it's $8, which is the price, minus how much I lost from lowering the price on the previous 2 units. So it's going to be $6. So let's take a look at that. When I sell 3 units, total revenue is equal to 8 times 3, 24. But with 2 units, I have a total revenue of $18. With 3 units, I have a total revenue of $24. So that means that the contribution of the third unit is indeed $6, which I told you was the marginal revenue of the third unit. $8, the price, minus I lost $2 from lowering the price on the previous 2 units. So it's only $6, because marginal revenue is the difference between total revenues, is how much an additional unit contributes to the total revenue. So the first one contributed 10. The second one contributed 8. The third one contributed 6. Okay. So here is 6. So marginal revenue curve is going to look like this. Marginal revenue curve is going to lie below the demand curve. See, the difference here between perfect competition and monopoly is the perfectly competitive firm did not have to lower the price in order to sell more. They could sell as many units as they wanted at the market price. That's not the case for the monopolist. The monopolist has to lower the price on all the previous units in order to sell more. So the marginal revenue curve is not going to stay the same. See, for perfectly competitive firm, if you sell each unit at the same price, they're going to contribute the same amount to the revenue, the price of the product. That's going to be the contribution to the revenue. But in the case of the monopolist, they have to lower the price on all the previous units. So the contribution of an additional unit to the revenue is going to be the price that you're selling it for, minus how much you lost from the fact that you had to lower the price on all the previous units. Okay, now another interesting thing here with the monopolist is the fact that marginal revenue curve actually goes negative. Well, what does it mean? It actually implies that this unit here and this unit here and so on, all those units are actually contributing negative to the revenue. This unit contributes this much to the revenue. This unit here contributes this much to the revenue. So we are producing a unit that is contributing negative to the revenue. In other words, it takes away from total revenue. Total revenue, it goes down when we are producing this unit or that unit. Okay. How is that possible? Well, think about it. Here, for example, when I produce this unit here, when we produce that many units, we're going to sell them for this price, which is the maximum price that I can charge. So this unit, the last unit that I'm producing here, I'm selling all the units for that price. But the last unit, this particular unit, the 105th unit or whatever, is going to be selling for a price that is positive, because prices can only be positive. So it's selling for a positive price, but it contributes negatively to my revenue. So how is it possible to sell something at a positive price, but it actually diminishes your total revenue? It makes your total revenue go down. Well, here's the explanation. Let's say that we're selling 10 units. And the price is equal to $10. Therefore, total revenue when I sell 10 units, Q equals 10, price equals 10. What is total revenue? Somebody yell out, what is the total revenue when I sell 10 units? How much money is coming in?
100.
100, exactly. 10 units at $10 each, $100. So total revenue for 10 units equal $100. Let's suppose that this firm wants to sell not 10, but 11 units. Okay. Well, if they want to sell 11 units instead of 10, what are they going to have to do to the price? They're going to have to lower the price. Okay, so they lower the price. Let's say they lower the price to $9. If they lower the price to $9, now they are able to sell 11 units. Okay, let's do that. So when Q equals 11, to sell 11 units, the price is now $9. They lower the price to $9. Well, let's see, what is the total revenue when we produce 11 units? It's 9 times 11.
99.
99. Well, wait a second. What happened to total revenue? Total revenue went down. Did I sell this unit? Did I sell this 11th unit for a negative price? No, I sold it for $9. So it put $9 in my pocket. But what did I have to do? I had to lower the price on the previous 10 units from 10 to 9. So on the previous 10 units, I lost $1 from each of those units. So I lost $10. So what happens is by producing that 11th unit and selling all of them at $9, I get $9 from the 11th unit, but I lose $10 from lowering the price on all the previous 10 units. So I have plus 9 minus 10, that's minus 1. So I lost quite a bit from lowering the price on the previous 10 units that I gained from selling just the 11th unit. So I had to make a big sacrifice by lowering the price a great deal on all of them just to sell that 11th unit. So it makes no sense to produce that 11th unit, right? So total revenue is actually going down. And that means that marginal revenue of the 11th unit, the contribution to the revenue of the 11th unit is actually minus $1. Now, let's contrast that with another situation. Let's suppose that I'm producing 10 units and I'm selling them for $10. Total revenue is $100. And now I want to sell 11th unit. But I don't have, in order to be able to sell 11 units, I don't have to lower the price all the way down to $9. I'm able to, to get another person to be willing to buy, all I have to do is lower the price from $10 to $9.90. Okay, so let's change it. When I sell 11 units, now I can sell them at $9.90. Well, somebody do for me, what is going to be the total revenue now? I don't have a calculator in front of me, just multiply 11 times 9.9. guess I'm gonna have to do it myself.
108.9.
108.9. Okay. That means that what is the marginal revenue or the contribution to the revenue of the 11th unit? It's $8.90. It's the difference between total revenue when I produce 10, total revenue when I produce 11. That's $8.90. So now the 11th unit contributes $8.90 to my revenue. Okay, but let's think about it. How come it's $8.90? Well, this is why. Folks, the 11th unit, I sold it for $9.90. But it didn't contribute $9.90 to the revenue. It contributed only $8.90 to the revenue. So where's that missing dollar from? Well, I sell it for $9.90, but I lost 10 cents on all the previous 10 units because I had to lower the price from 10 to $9.90. When I do that, I lose 10 cents on each of those 10 units. So I'm losing $1. So the contribution of the 11th unit to the revenue is the price minus how much I'm losing by lowering the price on all the previous units. All right, so now let's put together a graph where we show the demand, marginal revenue, and we bring in the cost, marginal cost, and then average total cost. Here's the demand for a monopolist. Marginal revenue, marginal cost, remember, it looks like a curve that it goes down and it goes up. So as the output increases, at first, the marginal cost, the contribution of each unit goes down, and then it starts going up. Well, obviously, we're making an assumption that this is a profit maximizing firm. And as a profit maximizing firm, we got to find that Q star. Where should they stop? Where should they stop producing? Well, what is the Q that represents the Q where profit is either maximum, or if they're losing money, the loss is minimal? Okay. And it's just like with perfect competition. As long as a unit contributes more to the revenue than it contributes to the cost, it makes sense to produce it. As soon as a unit contributes more to the cost than it contributes to the revenue, it doesn't make sense to produce it. So as you can see, all those units here, the contribution to the revenue is greater than the cost. So this one makes sense to produce. This one makes sense to produce. So all those units up to here make sense to produce because the contribution to the revenue is greater than the contribution to the cost. In other words, they put more money in my pocket than they take out of my pocket. So it makes sense to produce it. If you go past Q star, let's say here, the contribution to the revenue is here. The contribution to the cost is up there. So this is the contribution to the revenue, this value here. This is the contribution to the cost, that value there. Makes no sense to produce that unit. I'm not going to produce a unit that is going to put $5 in my pocket and then take $10 out of my pocket. So this monopolist will produce here at Q star. This is our Q star, the profit maximizing, loss minimizing output. Okay. Well, how much am I going to sell each unit for? Well, I'm going to sell each unit for the maximum, maximorum price that I can get away with and be able to sell Q star units. Where do we find that? Well, all we have to do is go up to the demand curve. And if I go up to the demand curve, and then I go on to the y-axis, I will find the P star. That is the maximum price that I can charge and be able to sell Q star units. If I wanted to charge a higher price, let's say here, this price, well, at that price, remember, a demand curve shows at each and every price what the quantity demanded is. Well, at this price, quantity demanded is this quantity. So I'm not going to be able to sell Q star. I would only be able to sell a different Q. So I'm not going to find the profit maximizing quantity. I'm not going to be able to maximize the profits. So this is the maximum price that allows me to sell Q star units. Somebody may say, well, why don't you sell at a lower price? If I sell at a lower price, I'm going to sell a higher quantity, but I'm not going to sell the quantity that maximizes my profit, because my profit gets maximized here at Q star, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So I can produce at any price, but my profits or my losses, because it could be that I'm making losses, my profits or my losses, if I make profits, if I sell any output other than Q star, I'm going to make lower profits. And if I'm taking losses, if I sell at any Q other than Q star, I'm going to make greater losses. So Q star ensures that if you are making positive economic profits, you're going to be the maximum. If you are making the negative economic profits or losses, I'm going to be the minimum. I'm going to have the minimum losses. So in either case, it's still the ideal to produce at Q star. And you will maximize the profits when you produce at Q star and you charge the maximum price that gets you away with selling Q star units. And we know that this price ensures that we will be able to sell Q star units. Okay, now you have price, you have quantity. We have the price that we want to sell for. We have the quantity we want to sell for. Well, we can find the total revenue. Total revenue is going to be price times quantity. So it's going to be this area here, price times quantity. You multiply two sides of a rectangle, you're going to get the area of the rectangle. So this area here represents the total revenue. But we know to have profit, you don't need just total revenue, but you also need total cost, because the profit is the difference between total revenue and total cost. Let's say that I tell you that to find total cost, we need the average total cost curve. And that's the average total cost curve. Well, is that firm making a positive profit or a negative profit? You tell me, somebody, Kimiko, maybe because you're the only one with a working.
Positive.
Let's see.
What?
This is the quantity that we're selling, right? Agree with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What's the price that I'm going to charge? This price, agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the average cost of a unit when I produce Q star? Well, all I got to do is go over to the average total cost, and then I can read what is the average cost of a unit. Which one is greater, the average cost of a unit or the price of a unit?
Average total cost.
Average cost of a unit. So here's a firm that it's selling each unit for $10, but on average, each unit costs them $13 to make.
Okay, the opposite.
Exactly. So they are losing money. They are losing money. On the other hand, if the average cost curve looked like this, notice what happens. Now this firm is actually making positive economic profits because they're producing here at Q star. The price of each unit is this price here, but the average cost of each one of those units, it's here. So you're selling each unit for more than each unit cost you on average. You're selling for 10 bucks, each unit costs you an average of $6. You're making $4 per unit. This distance here, this vertical distance here is the profit per unit. And in order to find the total profit, you're going to multiply the profit per unit times the what?
Price?
No.
Sorry.
Imagine this. Here's a question. Let's say you have a pizza shop and you sell each pizza for $20. And each pizza costs you an average of $16. And you sell 100 pizzas per day. If you sell each pizza for $20 and each pizza costs you an average of $16, that means that how much are you making profit per pizza?
$4 per pizza.
$4 per pizza. But what is your total profits? Because you are not just making one pizza, but you are making 100 pizzas. So what is your profit per day?
400.
400, absolutely. So you take the profit per unit times the number of units.
Okay.
So in our case, the profit would be this. It would be the profit per unit, price minus average cost gives you the profit per unit. This vertical distance is the profit per unit. And this horizontal distance is the number of units, is the Q star. So let's say Q star is 10, this guy is $40. And that $40 would be represented by this area here. That would be the profit, the total profit. Okay, now, when the firm is making total profit, the firm is extremely happy. What did I say? No, when the firm is making positive economic profit, the firm is ecstatic. They're very, very happy because they're making abnormal profits. They should not be making those kind of profits. So abnormal profits. When the firm is making zero economic profit, the firm is very happy because they're making a normal rate of return. They're making what they should be making. Now, when the firm is making less than a normal rate of return, that means that they are making less than they should be making. They are not covering their opportunity cost. They should be making, let's say, $1 million, but they're making only $800,000. They're still making a profit, but it's not what they should be making. Well, let's take a case where the firm is making negative economic profits, like I had just before. So I'm going to erase this average total cost curve and raise it up so that they're losing money. As you can see, this is Q star, this value here. This is P, price times quantity equals total revenue. So this area represents total revenue. Well, what is this value here? What does that represent? This value here represents the average cost of a unit. And if I multiply the average cost of a unit times the number of units, I'm going to have the total cost. Each unit costs me $13 and I produce 10 of them. That means that my total cost is $130. So this area represents total cost. Notice that total cost is greater than total revenue. So they're losing money. So the question is, well, what should they do? Should they shut down or should they stay in business? And this was also true, and I had it in my lecture for perfect competition. When a firm is losing money, when they're making negative economic profit, what should they do? Should they shut down or should they stay in business? And the answer is, it depends. It depends on whether they cover the variable cost or not. Remember, the average variable cost looks kind of like the average total cost, but it lies below it because the average total cost is made up of average variable plus average fixed. So obviously the average variable has to be lower. So where is that average variable cost with respect to the price? That's going to be determining whether I'm going to shut down or not. So let me give you first a numerical example, and then I'm going to show it with a graph. Folks, let's say that you open up a restaurant, and first thing that you want to do is find a good location. Well, you find a good location, now you're going to sign a lease. Okay, let's say it's a 1-year lease. Chances are you're not going to find a place that's going to have just a short-term lease like that 1-year lease, but let's say 1-year lease. And let's suppose that and the lease the variable or the fixed cost?
Fixed cost.
Fixed, exactly. Very good. The lease is $10 fixed cost lease, $10,000 per month. So that's the rent that we're paying, $10,000. And I have a 1-year lease. And then I have variable costs. And let's say variable costs, which is the salaries of my employees, the materials, the whatever. The variable cost, which is employees, is equal to $12 per month. Okay. And then I have revenues. And revenues, which is from selling all my meals, the revenues are equal to $18,000 per month. So every month I'm taking in $18,000, but also every month I got to pay $10,000 rent, and I got to pay $12,000 to my employees. Is this firm making money or losing money?
Losing money.
Losing money. You're absolutely right. We're losing money because we have total cost of $22,000 and I have revenues of $18,000. So every month I have to reach into my pocket, take out $4,000 to make up that difference. Every month, $4,000 comes right out of my bank account. So then you say to yourself, well, what should this firm do? Should they stay in business until the end of the lease, or should they shut down immediately? Well, folks, remember, if we stay in business until the end of the lease, what's going to happen? I'm going to have to reach into my pocket and take out $4,000 in order to pay all my costs. But let's see what happens if we shut down. If we shut down, how much am I going to pay my employees if I shut down?
Zero.
Zero. This cost disappears. How much am I going to take in revenues?
Zero.
Zero. I'm not selling anything. But guess what? I signed the 1-year lease, and each and every month I'm going to have to reach into my pocket and take out $10,000 out of my savings. And each and every month I'm going to pay $10,000 out of my own pocket for the lease. So what would you rather do? Stay in business or shut down?
Stay in business.
Exactly. You stay in business, you're going to part with $4,000 each month. You shut down, you're going to part with $10,000 each month. So if you are able to cover the variable cost, then you want to stay in business. If you cannot cover the variable cost, then you should shut down. For example, if the revenues were $10,000, then I want to shut down. Why? If I shut down, I'm going to be stuck with those $10,000. But if I stay in business, I got to pay $12,000 each month out of my own pocket. So you got $12,000 out of my own pocket versus $10,000. Obviously, $10,000 is better losing $10,000 each month than losing $12,000 each month. So as long as you cover the variable cost, this is also true for perfect competition. Same situation. If you're making money, if you're making positive economic profits, fantastic. If you're making zero economic profits, it's very good. If I'm making negative economic profits, then the question is, well, should I shut down or stay in business? Well, it depends whether the revenues are greater than the variable cost. If the revenues are greater than the variable cost, then you will want to stay in business until the end of the lease. You're not going to renew that lease with the same terms and conditions. You will want to renegotiate. But if the revenues are less than the variable cost, then you're just better off just shutting down, okay? Because you don't want to pay the whole lease out of your pocket and some of the variable cost also out of your pocket. Because if you shut down, the variable cost disappears, so you're not going to have to pay anything towards them. Okay. So it depends whether we shut down or not, depends on where that average variable cost is going to be vis-a-vis to the price, with respect to the price. If the average variable cost is here, then the price, or the revenues, if you will, price times quantity, which is revenue, is going to be greater than average variable cost times quantity, which is the variable cost. And in that case, I will stay in business. So if this is the average variable cost, I'm going to stay in business. If that is the average variable cost, I will shut down because the price is less than the average variable cost. Okay. One more thing about the monopolist. Remember, we talked about if they want to sell additional units, the monopolist cannot sell to one person at one price and to another person. If they want to sell additional units, they're going to have to lower the price on all the units. Okay. If they were able to sell to one person at one price and to another person at another price, rather than everybody at the same price, then the monopolist would be able to actually achieve higher profits. But that is called price discrimination. Well, now price discrimination, actually, it's not illegal. It's illegal only under certain circumstances where they go against competition. But overall, it's not illegal. And I'll give you an example of price discrimination, where a company, a firm, is able to sell the same product to two different groups, depending on their willingness to pay for that product. So somebody, let's say that you have a product and you sell to two distinct groups of people. And one of those groups really want that product badly. And the other group wants it, but not as bad as the first group. Well, folks, what are you going to do? Who are you going to charge a higher price? Are you going to charge everybody the same? Or are you going to charge one a higher price and one a lower price? Who are you going to charge a higher price? The ones who really want it bad, or the ones who, they're kind of lukewarm?
The one who's wanting really bad.
Exactly. Imagine this. Imagine that one group wants it really badly and they're willing to pay $20 for this product. The other group, they don't want it as bad and they're only willing to pay $10 for this product. So one group, their maximum price is $20. The other group, their maximum price is $10. If you can price discriminate, you're going to sell to one group at 20 and to the other group at 10. But if you were to charge one price to both groups, remember, one group, the maximum is 20, the other group, the maximum is 10. And if you want to sell to both of them, what would be the price that you would have to charge both groups?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I was,
One group is willing to pay 20 bucks. The other group is only willing to pay 10 bucks. If you were to charge one price, a single price, to both groups, what would that price have to be?
average,
Not the average, because remember,
20,
no, one is willing to pay 20, the maximum is willing to pay 20, the other group, the maximum is willing to pay 10. If you want to sell to both of them at one price, what price would you have to charge?
the one the price at the Q start. I
So
don't know.
what? Okay. Let's suppose this way. I go into a classroom and I have a bottle of water and I say, who's willing to buy this bottle for $20? And one person says, only one person says, I'm willing to buy it for $20. I give it to them. Then I take out another bottle of water and I say, who's willing to pay $20 for this bottle? Nobody raises their hand because the person who is willing to pay 20, they already got their water. So what do I have to do to sell that second water? I said, well, who's willing to give me $19 for this water? Somebody raises their hand, says, I'll give you $19. When I price discriminate, I'm able to sell to one person for 20, to another for 19. Let's suppose that I cannot price discriminate. If I cannot price discriminate and I want to sell those two bottles of water, remember, there's one person who's willing to buy a bottle for 20, but that's only one person. And there's only another person who's willing to buy it for $19. If I want to sell two bottles of water for the same price, what price would I have to sell both bottles of water for?
19.
19, exactly, 19. So if one group is willing to pay 20 and another group is willing to pay 10, if I want to sell to both of them, I'm going to have to sell to both of them for 10 because I got to include this group that's only willing to pay 10, no more than 10. So that's why you cannot do the average. You cannot say, oh, this is 20, this is 10, let's average it at 15. Nobody in the group that's willing to pay only 10 is going to be willing to pay 15. So if you want to sell to both groups, you're going to go to the lowest possible price, and that's going to be 10. So when do you think monopolists will make more profits, or any firm for that matter, when they can sell some for 20 and some for 10, or all of them for 10? Okay, the answer is when you can sell some for 20 and some for 10. In my example with the bottles of water, if I could sell one to one person for 20 and one to another person for 19, I would take in 20 plus 19, that's 39 bucks. But if I wanted to sell both bottles of water, you told me that I would have to sell for $19. How much money is 2 times 19? That's 38 bucks. 39 bucks is better than 38 bucks. So you have firms would like to price discriminate. And I will give you an example of price discrimination. When we go to the movies, there are tickets that are called general admission tickets. And then they have tickets for students and seniors? Are tickets for students and seniors the same as general admission, higher or lower?
Lower.
Lower. Well, what is the assumption? Why do you think that are selling that movie theaters are selling to students and seniors at a price that is lower than the price for general admission? What do you think that is the assumption that they are making?
Well, lower profit.
Well, no, they
They
want to
sell-
maximize profit. They want to make more profit. So that's why they price discriminate. So why do you think that they decide that, well, if we price discriminate, if we sell to one group at a higher price and to another group, what allows them, what do you think that causes them to think that, well, one group is willing to pay more and one group is willing to pay, but only if the price is lower?
Because they want to fill the seat, because fixed costs of the play the movie.
Okay, they want to feel, but why not sell at the same price to all of them?
Because then the lower price won't come to pay for it.
Okay,
They
at the
don't want
lower price, they would make less profit than if they charge a higher price and a lower price. So selling to everybody at $5 is not as good as selling to some people at $5 and some people at $8, right?
Yeah.
I was going for the underlying assumption. The assumption is about students and seniors versus everybody else. What is the assumption about students and seniors that makes them willing not to pay those higher prices?
Low income.
Lower
Lower
income,
income.
exactly. So if you sell your product to two groups of people that have different incomes, then chances are they're going to have different willingness to pay for those goods. So those with higher incomes, you're going to charge a higher price. Those with lower incomes, you're going to charge a lower price. That's called price discrimination. And firms do it all the time. And it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Unless this leads to less competition. If it leads to less competition, then they can get sued.
How's it different from price gouging?
Well, it's not price gouging.
I mean, it's not gouging, but if some people willing to pay for like those hand sanitizer earlier in this time pandemic, and some people buy it, right? So
well, price gouging really has to do with necessities, and so here we're not talking about necessity. So for example, there is a storm coming, and suddenly a store would raise the price of water from $1 a gallon to $10 a gallon. That would be price gouging. But this only has to do with a store charging in one neighborhood where the incomes are higher, they're going to charge a higher price, and in a different neighborhood they're going to charge a lower price. Yeah. So it's not price gouging.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
So I kind of started a little later today to join the class, but we were talking about monopolistic competition.
No, this is Monopoly. Monopoly. I started out with a little bit of a review of Perfect Competition, and then I went into Monopoly.
Okay. This was a monopoly.
This is Monopoly. Next week, we're going to have Monopolistic Competition and Oligopoly.
Okay. So from difference between monopoly and perfect competition is that you use total average total cost as it determined.
No. You need the average total cost for both monopoly and perfect competition to determine whether you are making a profit or a loss. The difference is a monopoly is only one firm. Perfect competition is many, many firms producing exactly the same product.
Oh, okay. Okay, I still have to go back to the recording, but
Yeah, so please